So we're back. You have a thing when you start, your hands go up. I noticed that on episode 1. It cuts and there's like a split second where you're just like ready to go.
Yep.
And then
I reset.
Hi, I'm Lewis. Yeah, it was a good reset.
Yeah. Well, welcome to this third episode of Transit Tangents. I'm Lewis.
I'm Chris.
And after the last episode where we featured our friend Michelle riding the bus for the first time, we're kind of changing things up a little bit here by not going with somebody who is brand new to riding the bus, but instead we're talking to somebody who rides the bus all the time.
Has been riding the bus in Austin since they were about 14, I think.
Yep.
It was their ride from school. And that's pretty remarkable to me. We'll talk about it in the video, but I didn't have access to public transit to get to school. Did you when you were growing up?
Unless you count the school bus, I guess. I did.
But is that public? I mean, it is public transit. I guess that is the definition of.
So no, I didn't.
transit,
I didn't have like there was not another. It's not like I was taking a city bus or anything. But we did. I grew up riding the bus for the most part. Occasionally, I would ask my mom for a ride, and she would oblige, which was very lovely of her. But mostly riding the school bus. No other real public transit option though.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I do want to take a second. I'm noticing you're in the theme color right now.
Oh.
You look like the logo.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I would say it was intentional, but it's not.
You should just own it and say it's intentional.
For those of you listening, I'm wearing a lovely green fleece. Very intentional. Yes. Yeah. It's gonna have the logo on it soon. Maybe that would be cool.
That would be great.
Fleeces.
Maybe we'll have a Transit Tangent store coming up. We'll see.
Yes.
See what's in store.
So for this.
Sorry.
Wow. Lost.
Beep.
To get back on track here.
Well, actually, but yeah, you do look great in the green. It is very similar to the logo, and for anybody who's listening, they should go check out the logo if you haven't seen it, and you can find it on transittangents.com. That is our podcast website. There you can see all of the episodes that are uploaded. You can get links back to our socials.
And also on there too, I mean, if you're listening to us and you want to watch the video version, that is on YouTube. The links will be there. If you're watching us and you want to listen to us in the car, vice versa, all that good stuff. Awesome. So on to this episode now.
Yes.
As we mentioned, we are having a conversation with Hoffman, a regular transit user in the city of Austin where we live. To kind of get to this meeting, we met up at a local coffee shop. I met Hoffman partway. They were on my bus ride down. So we met each other near the UT campus. Hopped on a bus, went to Cosmic. Chris had a little bit more of a journey, though.
I had a very different experience getting there. It started with a medical appointment that you'll see through the video, I'm struggling with allergies. So had a nice medical appointment. And from there, had to make it across town to the interview with you guys. And it was a journey. I was coming from pretty far north in Austin, and we were meeting up very central, just next to downtown. But thankfully on the train line. What is just blew my mind and was so infuriating was that I was in a medical complex. There's a major hospital right across the street. There are no transit stops. There is not a single bus stop that was not 15 minutes of walking away from the office that I was at.
Why would you need to take public transit to a hospital? I mean, just take your car, Chris. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Because everyone has their car to drive to the hospital.
Right.
But it was absolutely insane. And, to get to the closest bus stop, it actually required going into a green belt in Austin. We have these sort of public spaces we call green belts. They're just big natural areas. Usually they follow a creek. And there's usually beautiful trails, hiking, running, biking, all of that stuff. The only way for me to get to the closest bus stop was to go through one of these green belts. But then to get out of the greenbelt, there was no path. I had to sort of bushwhack through the trees.
It was like a hilariously small little like dirt path, and then you were like in a parking lot. We have some of the footage here, so we'll go ahead and play some of that so you can listen and watch and see what Chris's journey was to come and meet Hoffman and I at a coffee shop.
Yeah, enjoy the struggle. Enjoy my struggle. Yeah, as far as starting off walks to the nearest station, this isn't bad. Well, barely been walking and already hit a snag because the trail that I'm following has now turned into this little path. That is what Google is telling me to follow to get to the nearest bus. Okay, I think this is the definition of a desire path, where people have just forced a path out of will to get through this little park, I think, to the ACC campus. Following that path led me straight to a parking lot, I believe at ACC. There you are. Just took a little meandering through campus, but found the stop that we're looking for. Now it's time to wait. Okay, made it to close this up to you, which is my favorite station in Austin. Now let's go meet Hoffman and have a conversation. I did eventually make it. It took in total a little under 2 hours for me to get from North Austin to Central Austin, where we're meeting Hoffman, which again, we'll talk a little bit about their experience in using transit in Austin. Apparently, the time was not unreasonable, maybe, or not. Sorry, it was unreasonable. It wasn't. The time that it took me was not unheard of, I guess.
Ah, right. Yes, yeah, for you to get down there. Yeah. No. So and Hoffman has a lot of good insights. Again, over years and years of using transit in Austin. So without further ado, let's go to that conversation between Chris and I and our new friend Hoffman.
Yeah. Okay, I feel 1,000 times better. I was struggling on the train down here without food.
There's nothing worse than riding on CapMetro hungry, I have to say.
Although
They should have fucking a snack bar in the
hungry
back.
on the train is probably better than hungry on the bus.
Oh,
though.
that's true.
Hungry on the bus,
I
would-
forget.
yeah.
Hungry on the train.
I would just start getting like a little car sick, I think, being hungry on the bus.
To be fair, I was
Yeah.
hungry on both.
Yeah,
I take a bus and a
that's
train
true.
to get here.
True.
Okay.
Since we're already going for it, let's just keep going for it. So we are currently at Cosmic in East Austin, the new Cosmic, and we're joined by Hoffman. We actually met at the Wider Won't Work rally
Yes.
a couple weeks back at this point. You can go check out that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. But I wanted to talk with you because after that rally, we chatted for a bit, and you said that you're a heavy kind of transit user. You use the bus to get around mostly in Austin.
Definitely.
And after the last episode we did, I filled you in a little bit on it on our bus ride over here. We actually went out, me, Chris, and our friend Michelle. And Michelle had never used the bus before in Austin. Chris has very limited experience using the bus in Austin.
And hey, I want to take a step back and say I'm very proud. I had lessons learned from the Michelle episode.
Yeah.
And I made it here. And the videos show I had some trouble, but it all worked out.
Yeah. So it was it's kind of going to be a kind of a fun contrast though, looking back at that episode with people who have never really used the bus to now somebody who uses the bus for getting to work, getting all sorts of places like that. So I guess if you want to introduce yourself a little bit and kind of explain your transit use, why you use public transit.
Yeah. I'm Hoffman. I've been using the bus in Austin for probably 6 years now, since I was 14. I grew up in Austin. I love the bus and I hate the bus, and that's about a summation in my opinion. So yeah.
That's my relationship with driving. I love driving and also hate it. So I can understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
When you were using the bus when you were 14 and in town, like kind of describe, you don't have to give us an address obviously, but like kind of describe like where you lived in the city.
Yeah, so I lived on the east side of I-35, and my mom was a school teacher at Austin High. And so I would take the bus home from Austin High after like theater or something. I was like a huge nerd, obviously. And it would take like sometimes 2 hours to get home from high school. So that was like my introduction to Austin public transit. So I'm almost desensitized to like the lengthiness of my trips. But it is, once I started hearing about how public transport was in other cities and like experienced it for myself, like I don't know, like in Boston and stuff like that, I was like, whoa, like it can be so much better than this. Like, so yeah.
I have a question. So when you were traveling when you were 14 on the bus, did your parents ever have any concern, like safety-wise? I mean, Austin's a pretty safe city, but like in my hometown, I can't imagine my parents being okay with me like taking a not a school bus around when I was in high school or even middle school.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the sense of danger has been kind of removed because of like phones and stuff. Like I can kind of like call my parents or something if I'm like actually got stranded or something, and they could like pick me up in their car. So I'm kind of like privileged in that way. Like my parents could like pick me up if the bus just like never came, which sometimes happened, you know.
Right.
So yeah, but it is certainly you have a lot of uncomfortable moments on transit, I'd say like pretty regularly, but it's been fairly rare that I felt in danger, or you know, my friend has felt in danger, but that's definitely happens like on the bus for sure. It's not fantastic, but I think my parents just kind of like trusted, you know, learning by doing, and yeah, that included riding the bus for 2 hours.
Yeah.
After school.
No, I think that makes sense, and I like, you know, that's a good question too, because like I feel like a lot of parents are probably apprehensive in some cases, but in some cases, I mean, I think you probably did learn a lot by doing that and like understanding where things are in your city. Like so many people now, I was gonna say so many kids now, but even so many adults now just have like no clue where things are.
Yeah.
It's like everything is Google to get everywhere.
I know those adults.
Yeah.
I married one of those adults.
Yeah, I feel like I am able to rely on like a sort of like mental map of routes a lot. Like I definitely rely on Google Maps for like, hey, when is this bus coming? Like, am I going to miss this bus? But I definitely have a sort of like mental map. I think it's like definitely a benefit to kids, especially because like CapMetro, while it's not like completely safe, like I'm not gonna lie to people and say that, like it is a good way for you to like build like confidence as a kid and like where you are. And I feel like I learned a lot of like good navigational skills and just like confidence with like talking to adults. You know, like I was scared like the first time I got on a bus. I didn't really know how it worked. Like they don't tell you like, hey, you need this app and stuff. But like CapMetro, it's like fairly in the grand scheme of things, like I consider it kind of child friendly, just in that like I could get on, and because of my like visible youth, like they wouldn't like stop me. They just like, it's free pretty much if you're 18 or under. So like I could just like get on and it was like chill.
Right.
But that definitely, like I have a baby face and, you know, little white girl. So like it's, you know, maybe different for me, but that's the way I experienced it.
Yeah.
So, so with your experience in Austin, do you primarily use public transit to get to work, or do you have a car at all?
No, I do not own a car. I'm like the most carless person I know. But yeah, I use like public transport to get pretty much everywhere unless it literally can't get me somewhere, which sometimes happens. Like it is like straight up like completely inconvenient for me to take the bus from like my apartment to the Rio Grande campus of ACC. So I just like take the L, walk 30 minutes every day to school. Not every day, but weekdays, stuff like that. So yeah, but I definitely use the bus in lieu of a car. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you ever use the train in Austin too? Is it pretty much just the bus? Do you mix up scooters or Ubers?
No, I did use the train once, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in Europe right now. Like, it's like, I was like, wow, I felt like very, you know, cool using the train. I appreciate the train, but it is like, you definitely notice a shift in demographics when you're on the train versus the bus. Like, it's a lot of like wealthy like white yuppies, no offense to them, with like bikes getting on the train like on their way to their jobs in like downtown or something. It's not really convenient for like where I want to go. I've only used it like once.
Yeah, the train isn't really, it's convenient if you live like really close to the train.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like the route that was chosen for it just out of convenience at the time, when it's not through like a super dense part of town for the most part. Anyone who like lives on the train line generally lives in a new development like the ones around this train station that's like right behind us basically.
And that's why probably you end up with a lot of, to use your words, like white yuppies on their bikes. Which that's the demographic.
They've done a good job with some of the train stations though. Like they have built more density around it. Like Crestview Station's really nice because it has all the apartments around it.
I would say it's
MLK
probably not
Station's
super
great.
cheap to live near
No,
those,
it's
though.
not cheap to
I mean,
live
I think
anywhere.
there are some income restricted units in those buildings, but it's probably less than 10% at every single one of them.
I think MLK Station has more than most.
Yeah.
But so for instance, my experience today, I took the train for the first time in years, and I was so excited to take it because it's been so long. And our train is actually very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's clean inside. The upholstery's nice. Like I was looking at that. Like, it has the little CapMetro logo on the headrests. It's super comfortable. It was very quiet. And I really enjoyed the experience. Now, getting here, using a bus and the train, like that whole thing, that connection took a while, and I sat there and waited forever for the train to finally come. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I'm curious. So the train frequency is not as good as it should be.
I arrived at the station and it was 19 minutes till the next train, and that was after I got off the bus, stopped to grab a water, and then made my trek to the station because like the bus station and the train station were not side by side.
That's so funny. I feel like stopping to get a water, that's the cardinal sin of Austin public transport. Like you can't ever stop to
Right,
get
if you miss that
a
one.
snack or a water because like it's gonna be an hour. Like,
When the train's every 30 minutes, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
But
I guess, do you have any like examples of like a best experience using public or a best and a worst experience story in public transit? Any horror stories or just like some awesome thing that happened?
Yeah, I'd say like I get like a really good feeling within my soul when people help each other out and like getting the bus. Like when somebody's like, hey, like that person across the street is waving you down, like stop for that person, like I just feel like that's like, that brings out the best in humanity sometimes. And I love it when I sit down like I don't sit down on the bus, but when I stand on the bus and I like talk to another person and like we have like a great conversation, I'm like, yo, this is Austin. Like this is the Austin I grew up in. I have like a lot of like homeless friends that I like get to see on the bus, and like, obviously like, like a lot of people don't have phones. We don't like organize like ourselves, but like I see people I know on the bus and I'm like, yo, like that person like seems to be doing well. And it's on the bus that I like run into those people all the time. So like, that's my favorite part about the bus.
there's a sense of community because you're probably seeing some like the same faces.
Yeah, the
on
same
the routes.
faces on the same routes and stuff. Like my friend like Eric, BC, like like great people that I pretty much only ever see on the bus or at Republic Square. And then the horror stories though, like definitely like this is like honestly like the best and worst thing that ever happened to me on this bus. This is back when I looked more like masculine. Like this dude, like he was like in like a purple suit and he was like, young man, and then tried to like convince me to buy silver. Like it was
Oh my
God.
So I found the conversation with Hoffman really interesting because any experiences I've had on public transit have been pretty seamless. I have never really felt in danger or at risk on public transit, but I understand that's not true for everyone.
Totally.
And as Hoffman talks about, as their gender expression sort of changes, that absolutely changes how people interact with you in public spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And transit is no different.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's one of those things that like 99% of the time you're not going to have any issues. I've seen interesting things happen on the bus before occasionally. As someone who does ride the bus, I ride it more than you, but I still don't ride it as much as Hoffman does.
Right.
I've definitely seen some interesting things. Usually it's harmless, but again, there's always potential. But again, I think it's one of those things that safety in numbers. As more people use transit, things become safer, like they do anywhere. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And you actually tried to look into crime statistics a little bit, right?
I did. I tried to find them on CapMetro, and they do have they do have safety statistics, but the safety statistics are about
Safety statistics 10 times fast. You're not going to be able to do it.
Any of their safety stats is about collisions or some type of incident where the bus stopped working or whatever.
Right.
Injuries. None of it is about crime or
Hmm.
harassment or anything like that. Now, what I didn't do, I didn't look at Austin police
Okay.
to see what they may report on Metro.
Right.
But what I did learn that I didn't know until this episode was that CapMetro created their own police force. And so now they do have police officers that you can contact when you're on the bus if you are facing any type of harassment or you feel like there's a safety issue. And a lot of times those police officers are at transit stops, or they may even be riding the bus with you. So there are some resources out there. And I think CapMetro in Austin, at least, is aware that occasionally people run into safety issues, and that they're providing sort of security on the bus lines, which is good.
Totally. Yeah.
How often do you feel like those types of experiences happen?
As as my sort of like gender expression changes, the way I have to conduct myself on the bus changes as well. And I'd say that like the more like feminine I look, like I definitely have to change how I interact with people, like not making eye contact with certain people, which sucks because like I want to smile at people. I want to have those conversations that like make riding the bus fun, which I often do have. But sometimes like people really get the wrong idea and start acting like super creepy towards you. Right. So it's just like, unfortunately a lot about being able to suss out the vibes, which is not an objective or like foolproof method.
And I'd imagine too, like some of those things, you're like more comfortable talking with people. I would imagine too, if like there are more people on the bus, like you get like safety in numbers in some cases too. Whereas like if you get that, if you're on a bus that's like not a main line in the system or anything, you might be on the bus with 2 or 3 people, and I could imagine that getting very awkward or unsafe pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like if you're alone on the bus with like a weirdo, it's just you and the bus driver, and you're like trying to make eye contact with him through the weird mirror, and you're like, hey, like,
you got me, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but mostly I'd say it's chill. Mostly I have a good time. Mostly I just, like pop my headphones on, start dancing like I shouldn't be on the bus, so yeah.
If there were changes you could make to the bus system here in Austin, are there some like clear changes you would make?
Like yes and no. Like bring back the Dillos first of all. Second of all,
Wait.
Yeah, hold on. Let's go back. Bring back the what?
The Dillos. Have you guys not heard of those? Those are like the armadillo buses were like.
Okay, I've definitely heard of this, but it's before my time here.
Yeah,
so.
they were like sort of like buses that would like be in like certain like neighborhoods and would like take you around your neighborhood and stuff. And they were like really fun. They had like armadillos painted on them, and at least in the olden days, they didn't have any air conditioning and were like wooden, and they were like fun. Like not in a bad way. Like it was like fun.
Were these actually public transit solutions, like to get you to the bus lines?
Yeah, no, they shut them down. I don't know when, but bring back the Dillos. Like I think like because I think that encourages like community like oriented mindsets amongst people. Like people feel more encouraged to get out in their neighborhood, and who doesn't want to ride a bus that looks like an armadillo?
Yeah.
I was really hoping that like the whole thing was shaped like an armadillo. Like
you
you sit in the armor.
Yeah, that'd be so.
The bus
cool.
driver's just like driving the little armadillo head.
If they bring them back, they can do that.
Absolutely. We're gonna start a petition.
Yeah, for real. I struggle with like improvements regarding safety, just because like. Well, I think the courtesy stop thing is a great like development for CapMetro.
I like that too. For people who don't know, like you can request after 9 p.m. I think it is. You can request the bus to stop in between stops on the line, so you have like less of a walk home in the dark, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that's like something that maybe. I mean, this would of course cause its own issues, but just like be good for accessibility to like people like who are disabled could request like closer stops too, and then like. Yeah, like I struggle with the safety aspect though, because like a lot of the people that I really enjoy seeing on the bus, I know they face like sort of like police harassment in the name of safety, and then there's other people who are genuinely unsafe on the bus that I would like to see, like not harassing people. So I don't know, it's just like tough to balance that. Like I don't want to put out any ideas out there that would like harm people that I are the people that I actually have great conversations with on the bus, but because of the way they look like might be, harassed or something, or people think they're unsafe for no reason, stuff like that. Because there are like lots of like mentally ill, like poor people, like people of color that like ride the bus that like people might interpret as unsafe for whatever reason, but are like completely cool, wonderful people. And I don't want to like put them in danger, but I also don't like getting harassed on the bus. So
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting
yeah,
balance.
like I haven't thought about that too deeply, honestly. Yeah, I think kind of it's a cultural problem that I'm not sure CapMetro is equipped to actually combat in a useful
and
way.
I think that that's also something that I would imagine happens in a lot of other cities too, and it's also probably a reason that some people don't use the bus too in some cases, because they have one bad experience or they just hear experiences like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to like. There's so many like unhoused folks and whatnot too, and people who like they really rely on those buses, and like it might like be unsightly or whatever people want to phrase it as, to see someone carrying their whole life with them on and off the bus and maybe having a hard time with something or having a bad day or whatever it might be. But like you don't want to remove those, like that is so critical to that person to be able to get around, to be able to get access to the resources that they need.
Exactly. There was a dude I met at Republic Square who said he walked to Austin from Del Valley. Like, you know, there's like shit like that happens because people need to move and they need buses to do it oftentimes. And like those people are just as deserving of the bus as I am as, you know, like a white Austinite student.
I've never considered that the buses are really sort of the display of society, but also like the problems of society. So like that's interesting. It's like if you are going to be an avid public transit user, you have to be comfortable seeing the flaws in our community, because those are going to be really prevalent. And I've never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, no, it like puts like a lot of like Austin kind of on display, like the haves and the have-nots, because like you know, there's still people who are wealthy that ride the bus here, you know, because it is like in a lot of cases like super convenient.
And we need more of them to ride the bus.
And we need more of them to ride the bus. Yeah, but yeah, you definitely see like a lot of Austin's problems exhibited on public transport for sure.
I'm curious, so do you have any tips that you would share with somebody who, for example, like our friend Michelle, who was her first time riding the bus in Austin when we went out? Do you have tips for folks who are like, we'll call it like transit curious in Austin?
Transit curious.
How to take the first leap, or like little tips and tricks you've picked up along the way that you'd think you'd want to share with them?
That's so funny. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try and think of like how I usually get on public transport, and I think my first step is usually opening the CapMetro app way before I have to get on, because it takes forever to load, and it's really embarrassing to be like sitting there like in front of the bus driver like trying to get it to load. Being up front with your bus driver, like they're very like understanding. Like if you don't have fare and you know like you want to get on the bus, like you can just be like, hey, like can I scan later? Like I forgot to buy a ticket. You know, like I do that all the time. You know, if you're a student, just be like, I'm a student and get on. You know, like they don't. Yeah, like the people are usually very understanding. I think. Not sitting down on the bus, because
yeah, this was a funny one that you mentioned to me on the way here, because I was like, oh, let's sit right here.
Do not sit down on the bus, because if you're on like, I think it's the 4, like you're gonna see a lot of CapMetro employees like riding to and from work, and none of them are sitting down, and I'm like, you guys know something.
Have you asked?
Like they're like bed bugs. Like you see what people do on. Like I talked to one guy. And he's like, oh, like you see what people do on. Like he's like I saw a dude with his bare like ass like sitting down like on this seat yesterday, and I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like they're like drunk people like peeing themselves. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not convincing. This is not convincing. I just
clearly Hoffman's not a spokesman for CapMetro.
Yeah.
I will say, on the last bus that the last one here, there was an employee on the bus standing.
Yes.
Not
they
sitting.
Never
the whole
sit.
bus was. There was only like 6 people on the bus.
All right,
Which is
new tangent episode is Transit Tangents Investigates.
Yeah.
Why don't you sit on the
No,
bus?
you guys need to swab these seats. Anyways.
Oh my God! Wait! We can swab the seats. I will have my partner Jerry, who works in a research lab at UT, find out what is on the seats. We'll bring it to CapMetro.
This is a great idea.
I want to also remind you, we're trying to convince people to use transit.
All right. These seats. Okay, let me say this. always use the Purell. They have Purell on almost all of the Austin transit.
As
like,
you should
buses
do
and
everywhere.
stuff. Yes, they have Purell. That's great. Oftentimes, like, this isn't as common as before, but you can ask them for a mask on the bus. Like,
Oh,
there's
interesting.
like, there's like good stuff that they have going on. So like, I always, I hold on to my little pole, and I get my Purell on, and I feel very safe. I'm locked in on those buses. I actually do love the bus, but certainly like by mirroring the behavior of off-duty CapMetro employees, I've definitely like picked up some new behaviors.
Some new tips.
Some new hot tips and tricks. So yeah, but honestly, like
The Purell's a good one too, I think.
oh yeah, and always be at your like stop like at least 5 minutes before the
Okay.
bus is coming. Always, like, because those things like usually they're like 3 minutes off, like at least, and
Yeah,
you
you'll see it
never
on your
know.
app and it'll be like, sometimes it'll say that it's gonna be there and it'll be 3 minutes late, and sometimes it'll be 3 minutes early and you missed it and now you gotta wait
Yeah.
15, 30 minutes, sometimes more depending on the route that
Yeah,
you're
sometimes
on.
like an hour. Like
yeah.
I've had to wait another hour before. Like, but like if you have an iPhone, no Apple Maps. No Apple Maps. Use Google Maps for CapMetro. 'Cause,
Okay.
like, it's been like 15 minutes off before on Apple Maps, like many times for me. Like Google Maps is the shit.
I'm
for
a Google
CapMetro.
person for it as well,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are Apple people for transit. Chris
Yeah.
is an Apple person.
I find more success with Maps.
Yeah.
Google Maps.
Right, call me out. I do use Apple Maps a lot, especially if I'm in another city. I will say we'll show this on the episode, but I had 3 maps pulled up to get here. I had the CapMetro app, I had the Google Maps, and I had Apple Maps just to see like what options they gave me, and all 3 gave me very different options, including Apple was like, you should take a lift to the train station. Like, I'm like, that's not transit, or that's not the transit we're looking for.
Right.
But what was also really frustrating, and this is a hot tip for anybody trying to use CapMetro's app, you can't search, in most cases, you can't search by your destination, you have to search by the bus stop. And so like, I had to go to Google Maps or Apple Maps to find the bus stop to then put that into CapMetro and like see how it was gonna work. And
That's the train.
There are the shining
Oh, it's a
beacon
Christmas
of our
train.
city. Oh,
Wow.
It is actually cute. Okay.
I wanted to make sure everyone saw the train.
so it was just absurd. But I will say, so I did use Google Maps, and I had a really interesting experience where it was like, okay, take the sidewalk into the woods and cross the creek. And I took the sidewalk into the woods, and it just came to an end, and it turned into a footpath to a parking lot. And so I'm like, I'm like, I am gonna get killed in the woods. But it was really pleasant. I had a nice little hike. I ended up on a dirt bike trail. And then I ended up in a parking lot at ACC. So I wouldn't call it accessible friendly. You know, if you have a wheelchair or something, or you
I do
even
think
if you can't
looking
walk
up like, instead of looking up how to get to your final destination, look for the closest transit stops near you, and then you might want to look at a couple of them, because in the app sometimes, and Michelle, our friend Michelle, had this issue. She typed it in, it told her to do the same thing from her apartment. It was only like a 10-minute walk to a stop from her apartment, and it was telling her to get into her car and drive like 15 minutes to a park and ride.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, and there's like stops have their own personalities, like there's like stops I know I'll show up like 5 minutes early or whatever it usually is, but like if I don't know a stop, like I'm probably gonna try and be like at least like 10, like if I don't know the route, because there's some that are like, like the 5 like went through a period where it was like 10 minutes early every time, and I was like, or like there's just like phases that they go through. The buses are like teenagers. You just need to like keep an eye on them and like make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So
My bus stop's personality was sad and lonely today, so
Yeah.
it was just
Yeah.
me.
See, we were at a we left from kind of the University of Texas, Austin area. I don't know why I just like said that out loud the whole length. That was me like explaining it for people who don't live here maybe. But the UT mall stop basically. So there's a ton of people getting on and off there. And there's like buses every like minute or two almost. But I'm curious, I kind of missed this earlier. I want to make sure I ask you this. So you use the bus to commute to both work and school.
yes.
Just personally, like, if I'm ever taking the bus somewhere to like get there at a certain time, I'm like leaving way early.
Oh,
like,
way.
how feasible? I mean, obviously, you don't have a car, so you don't have really another choice. Like, Do you find it difficult to be able to like be on time to work in school?
Absolutely. Like, so like my work isn't in person like a lot of the time, but whenever it is, like I'm probably leaving I'm leaving to get there 30 minutes early because you never know when like a bus is
So
like,
to like arrive at your workplace 30
yeah,
minutes
exactly.
early, right?
Like there is like a very like Austin bus experience. I feel like is just it being like really hot and even waiting for a bus for like 15 minutes. And then it just like goes past you.
Oh,
Like,
oh no.
And I feel like you just need to prepare for those moments of just being like, oh, CapMetro, like God bless you. And yeah, like, yeah, an unnamed comedian once said, you know, if you're not 30 minutes early, you're late. And that is like very true for CapMetro.
I hate that phrase. I think if you have a 15-minute grace period anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinion.
If it makes you feel better, the unnamed comedian was so I don't think anybody.
We'll leave him unnamed.
Yeah,
We'll just bleep that part out.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
Replace it like, oh, dub me over me saying like. Yeah.
When we started the podcast, we started with challenging the statement of like, oh, I love blank city. In this case, Austin. Like, oh, I love Austin. I just wish we had public transit. What would you say if that statement was made to you?
I would say like the public transport is there, but it's kind of a like self-perpetuating use it or lose it situation. I feel like not enough people take advantage of like what is there. But I also can't necessarily blame the average consumer for that because sometimes it is like not that great. But yeah, I would encourage more people to, you know, kind of put their money where their mouth is regarding like eco-consciousness and like, I hate Austin traffic, and like actually kind of do what they can about it, which is ride the bus for most people. And also just like pay more attention to what's like going on around you regarding like what, you know, like city council chooses to pass. I'm a big electoral politics head, just kidding. But I think like people should like give more input on what they think is good, and you know, just like kind of like pressure people. If you see a problem like, you know, with your public transport, like tell somebody about it. It's like, you know, a multi-million dollar like project, like it's a lot to manage. Like they might not even know that your problem exists if nobody's telling them about it. So yeah.
Nice. My problem with it today is that I was.
That's never happened on CapMetro, so, you know.
My problem with it today is that I was literally next door to the North Austin Medical Center, which is a major hospital in the north part of the city.
Yeah.
There's no bus stop.
Right.
Wow.
Not a hospital.
Not
which is wild.
one bus stop
That's
at the
insane.
hospital. And to get to the closest one, it's a 15-minute walk.
Yeah.
Or it's a trip to the woods.
That's exactly what you want to do with people who are ill. Make them walk through the woods.
Yeah. Or somebody who's trying to visit a family member who's ill,
Yeah.
or for whatever reason you have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people who are disadvantaged go to the ER because they can't afford to go to other medical facilities? Like it's a really a big gap, I think, in the North Austin solution for CapMetro. So like you said, see something, say something. I'm gonna have to.
Or, you know, so-called essential workers like nurses
Yeah.
need transportation and stuff. So
Yeah, and I will say there's like in at least here, depending on where you are, a lot of city council people like want to hear that feedback and can bring it to CapMetro. You can bring it to CapMetro or wherever city you're in. Like talking to your city council person is like so much more effective than talking to like a U.S. House rep even or like a senator or something. They're just like the federal government's there. I feel like it's just like so slow and they're not gonna be able to solve your problems. But locally, like if it's something like we need a bus stop in this one location, like that's so much more feasible to be able to solve.
especially like think about how hard it is to ignore an angry neighbor. Like, you know, like those people are, you know, a neighbor, you know, like, so like, you know, just like be like, hey dude, like.
So CapMetro, hey dude,
Hey, dude.
we have problems.
We have problems.
And we're gonna write a list for you.
I think though overall, it sounds like you are successfully able to get around the city using public transportation as your main source of getting around.
Yeah.
You go to work, you go to school. So while it has its issues like everything does, I mean it's a valid option if you can do it. Other people who are listening who maybe don't yet, like, you know, try like converting like one trip a week, try it out once or twice, see where you can mix in, because again, it's kind of a use it or lose it situation here and in so many other places where like if you want to see more investment in this thing, you need to show that you want to use it as it is even. So yeah.
So true. And like, not like some of my trips are like, you know, like, whoa, like this needs a different bus route. But then like some of them are like great and like ultra convenient, and you don't have to find parking in Austin, which is so awful. So like, yeah, just like, yeah, the converting to like one trip, it's a great way to like get to know the city too. If you're new, like, you don't want to just like spend, you know, all your days going to like, you know, random like places and not really get to like know the people of the city. Like, if there's a good representation of the people of the city, it's definitely people on CapMetro. A lot of the time, like, you meet a lot of interesting folks. So yeah, I while it has its problems that I'd love to see fixed, I do like recommend it at the end of the day. Like, it's a good experience. Like, you know, dare I say, you're not a local until you've ridden CapMetro. So yeah.
Ooh, challenge put down.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not a
Yes.
local unless you know how to use CapMetro.
Transplants. Yeah. Like,
I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you.
Now we're gonna take the bus home.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks everybody for listening to that conversation with Hoffman. Thank you to Hoffman for taking the time to not only be in this episode, but you might notice Hoffman in the next episode as they are make a brief appearance in what we have coming up next, the Wider Won't Work
Wider
rally,
Won't Work, yeah.
which is about highway expansion here in Austin. We've got a lot more content coming up as well, including some travel outside of the Austin area.
Are we ready to announce the travel?
I mean, we might as well, we can tease it just a little bit.
Okay, all right.
We are going to be doing a couple episodes in Salt Lake City.
Yes, Salt Lake City, we are coming to you. We have a few friends there that we're going to try to meet up with and have a conversation about how do you see Salt Lake City in a day using public transit. That may be one thing we look at.
As well as our favorite topic of all time, we're gonna have our first conversation about gondolas.
Yep. Whether you are for them or against them, there is a gondola project that's getting a lot of media outside of Salt Lake City, and so we're going to talk to some folks who that project's actually going to impact and get their feedback on it.
Yep. But if you want to make sure you see all of that, though, please, wherever you are listening or watching us right now, subscribe, follow, notifications, whatever it may be. If you want to see more of us online in general, you can follow us on any of our social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter/X.
Twitter/X, yeah.
I don't know what we call it. You can get the links to those probably in the description of this video, but also on our website, which is
transittangents.com.
I was like, I don't know it, so I think you know
transittangents.com.
All right. There's a little bit of a question mark on the end of that, so if you end up on some random website that looks like a phishing scam, at your own risk.
Yeah.
Joking. Awesome. With all of that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.
No need for a car, yeah, I'm saving that dough. Public transit's where it's at, watch me go. I'm rolling in style with my headphones on, cruising through the city to my favorite song.